The salt-tinged air carried the scent of the sea, a familiar comfort to the Morgan family. They called the Blue Heron home, not just any home, but a sturdy two-story houseboat, bobbing gently with the rhythm of the tide. It wasn't fancy with its peeling paint and mismatched furniture, but it held a lifetime of memories. The Blue Heron was their haven, their escape from the ordinary, a world where the ordinary was extraordinary, and the only constant was the ever-changing sea. Daniel Morgan, the patriarch of the family, was a man of few words but deep emotions. His hands, roughened by years of hauling nets and battling storms, were a testament to his life as a fisherman. The sea was in his blood, a legacy passed down from generations of seafarers. Daniel's day began long before the sun peeked over the horizon. Despite the solitude of his work, Daniel carried his family with him in his heart. He was their anchor, their steady presence in a world that often felt as unpredictable as the tides. Mary Morgan, Daniel's wife and the heart of the family, possessed a quiet strength that belied her gentle nature. As a nurse at the small clinic in the harbour town, Mary was a beacon of hope and healing to the community. Her days were filled with tending to the sick and injured, her touch as soothing as the sea breeze. Despite the demands of her job, Mary's priority was always her family. She was the glue that held them together, her love the invisible thread that connected them. She created a sense of warmth and security within the walls of the Blue Heron. Life aboard the Blue Heron was a delicate dance, a constant negotiation of space and privacy. With 4 children and 2 adults sharing a relatively small space, there were bound to be moments of tension and laughter. Meals were a boisterous affair, the small table in the galley barely large enough to accommodate everyone. Arguments flared up as quickly as summer storms, only to dissipate just as fast. Yet for all the challenges, there was an undeniable intimacy to their life on the water. The Blue Heron, for all its limitations, fostered a sense of unity and connection. The Morgan children lived a life vastly different from their peers on land. Their playground was the vast expanse of water that surrounded them, their toys fashioned from driftwood and seashells. School was a boat ride away, a daily reminder of the world beyond their floating home. Making friends wasn't always easy. Some children viewed their unusual living situation with curiosity, eager to experience life on the water firsthand. The Blue Heron, their floating haven, became a symbol of their resilience and unbreakable bond as a family. The sky was just beginning to lighten as Daniel guided the seafarer out of the cove. The air was thick with the smell of salt and seaweed, the only sounds the gentle lapping of water against the hull. He worked with a practiced efficiency, his movements honed by years of experience. Thoughts of his family were never far from his mind. Daniel's work was more than just a job. It was a way of life, a legacy passed down from generations of fishermen. He worked tirelessly, driven by a deep love for his family and a profound respect for the power of the ocean. The day wore on, the sun climbing higher in the sky, beating down on Daniel's back. He worked steadily, hauling in nets, sorting the catch, his movements becoming increasingly weary. The catch today was decent, not as bountiful as he had hoped, but enough to put food on the table. Still, a knot of worry tightened in Daniel's chest. As the sun began its slow descent towards the horizon, Daniel turned the seafarer towards home. He had done his best, provided for his family, and that was all that mattered. While Daniel battled the elements, Mary found her own rhythm in the bustling harbour town. The small clinic, perched on the edge of the docks, was a world away from the gentle rocking of the Blue Heron. Mary moved through this world with a quiet confidence, her calm demeanour a stark contrast to the flurry of activity around her. The clinic was a haven for Mary, a place where she could use her skills to make a tangible difference in people's lives. Yet, as the day wore on, a familiar longing tugged at Mary's heart. She was the anchor, the heart of their home, and her heart ached for the comfort of their embrace.
It's your turn to wash the dishes, Ethan. I did it yesterday and the day before.
Just a minute, I'm almost finished.
Back on the Blue Heron, life unfolded at a different pace. With Daniel away at sea, Mary juggling her duties at the clinic, the children were left to navigate the choppy waters of sibling rivalry and household chores. Sarah, ever the responsible one, attempted to maintain order, but her efforts were often met with resistance. Life on the Blue Heron was rarely peaceful, but amidst the chaos and the bickering there was an undercurrent of love.
It's not scary, it's home. We're never really alone, we have each other.
Our boat is really strong, and my dad, he knows how to handle any storm. He's the best captain there is.
The school day brought its own set of challenges for the Morgan children. While their peers lived within walking distance of the schoolhouse, their journey involved a bumpy ride on a small ferry. Once at school, they navigated a different kind of social landscape. They learned to embrace their uniqueness, to find humor in the awkward moments, and to cherish the friendships they formed.
The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. I sat on the deck of the Blue Heron, a single seagull feather clutched in my hand. I traced the delicate lines, my thoughts drifting like the tide. I love my family, but a persistent yearning has taken root in my heart. A yearning for something more, beyond our floating home.
She watched the harbor town lights flicker to life, each light a life she could only imagine. Sarah longed for the simple things her classmates took for granted. She craved the stability of solid ground.
I thought of Emily Johnson, my classmate with the infectious laugh. I long to confide in someone, but the gap between our worlds feels vast.
A single tear traced a path down Sarah's cheek. She quickly brushed it away, embarrassed by this sudden wave of emotion. She was a Morgan, strong and resilient, and yet beneath the surface a quiet storm raged within her.
While Sarah yearned for social connections, I found solace in my workshop, my sanctuary on the Blue Heron. Surrounded by wires, gears and tools, it was a symphony of possibilities. Each discarded object held potential for transformation.
Ethan dreamed of a spacious workshop, a haven filled with light and sturdy workbenches. He longed for space to tackle larger, ambitious creations.
I heard whispers of a makerspace in the harbor town, a communal workshop for tinkerers and inventors. The thought both excited and terrified me.
Ethan's creations were a tangible expression of his ingenuity. He longed for a place where his passion would be understood.
While our older siblings grappled with the complexities of adolescence, 10-year-old twins Emily and Michael navigated the world with an unfettered joy that was infectious. The harbor, with its bustling docks, bobbing boats, and endless supply of curious sea creatures, was our playground. We made friends easily, our boundless energy and infectious laughter bridging the gap between our unusual living situation and the lives of the children who lived ashore.
We taught our new friends how to tie nautical knots, identify different types of fish, and navigate the maze of docks with the agility of seasoned sailors. Emily, always the bolder of the two, befriended a group of girls who gathered on the docks after school to gossip, share secrets, and practice their handstands. She listened with wide-eyed wonder to their tales of sleepovers and school dances, her imagination running wild with images of life beyond the Blue Heron.
Michael, drawn to all things mechanical, gravitated towards a group of boys who spent their days building elaborate structures out of driftwood, racing homemade boats, and exploring the hidden coves and inlets of the harbor. He reveled in their shared sense of adventure, their willingness to embrace the unexpected.
For the twins, the harbor was a melting pot of experiences, a place where the lines between their watery world and the solid ground of the shore blurred. They moved between these two worlds with an ease that eluded their older siblings, their friendships a testament to the universal language of childhood joy and imagination. Section 4, a field trip on the Blue Heron, bridging the gap between two worlds. Mrs. Thompson announced a field trip to the Blue Heron, a floating classroom. On a sunny Friday, students and parents boarded the houseboat. The Morgan children became tour guides explaining life on the water. They showcased solar panels, rainwater systems, and composting toilets. The field trip bridged the gap between two worlds.
The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the water. Laughter and distant music drifted across the harbor, calling Sarah towards the shore. The annual bonfire and football game was in full swing.
Sarah, dressed in her best, stood on the deck of the Blue Heron. She longed to be part of the festivities on the distant shore. She imagined herself laughing with classmates around the bonfire. She yearned for the simple pleasures of adolescence.
But the Blue Heron felt like a barrier tonight. The gentle rocking of the boat now felt like a reminder of her isolation. Ethan emerged with a plate of freshly baked cookies.
He offered Sarah a tentative smile. He too felt the pull of the shore. As the night wore on, Sarah and Ethan retreated to the bow of the Blue Heron. They sat in comfortable silence, their gazes fixed on the distant lights of the harbor town.
Section 1. The storm nature's fury tests the Blue Heron. The wind, usually a playful companion, transformed into a howling beast, whipping the water into a frenzy. The tranquil cove, their haven from the open sea, became a cauldron of churning waves. The storm, which had been brewing on the horizon all day, had finally unleashed its fury upon the Blue Heron.
Inside, the family huddled together, the storm's roar a constant threat. Sarah and Ethan, attempting to appear brave, couldn't completely mask the fear in their eyes.
The twins, Emily and Michael, clung to Mary, their laughter replaced by whimpers as the Blue Heron groaned and swayed under the assault.
Daniel, his weathered face grim, secured anything that wasn't nailed down. Years at sea had taught him respect for the ocean's raw power. He knew this storm wasn't just a passing squall. This was different, angrier, a force determined to test their resilience, their very existence. "Everyone! Life jackets on now!" he barked, his voice barely audible above the wind's howl. His command, though laced with urgency, was a steadying presence amidst the chaos. He moved with a practiced calm, securing hatches, reinforcing windows, preparing for the worst while praying for the best.
As the storm raged, the Blue Heron, their once cozy haven, felt perilously fragile, at the mercy of the raging elements. The wind screamed, the waves crashed, and the small family, bound together by love and fear, braced themselves for a long, terrifying night. The storm's fury intensified as the night wore on. Waves, now towering behemoths, crashed over the Blue Heron, shaking its very foundations. The wind howled like a banshee, its icy fingers finding every crack and crevice. The family, huddled together in the main cabin, watched in growing horror as water began to seep in from a crack in the wall.
"Ethan, quick, grab some towels, blankets, anything."
Mary shouted, her voice tight with fear but her gaze resolute. She ripped a sheet from their linen closet, stuffing it against the growing puddle, her movements swift and determined. Sarah, fear momentarily forgotten, sprang into action. She grabbed pots and pans, anything that could hold the encroaching water. Even little Emily and Michael, their initial terror giving way to a sense of purpose, helped their siblings, their small hands clutching at the edges of buckets, their faces reflecting the flickering lantern light. Daniel, his face a mask of grim determination, continued to battle the elements on deck, reinforcing the Blue Heron's defenses against the relentless onslaught. He knew they were fighting a losing battle. The storm was winning, slowly but surely claiming their home. His heart ached, not for himself but for his family, their future uncertain, their fate tethered to this fragile vessel. The water continued to rise, inch by terrifying inch. The storm, a relentless foe, showed no signs of abating. The Blue Heron creaked and groaned, a symphony of distress echoing the fear that gnawed at the edges of their hope. A new wave of fear washed over Daniel as a sound distinct from the storm's fury reached his ears, the desperate shriek of straining ropes. He turned to see his worst fear realized. The seafarer, his lifeline, his family's livelihood, was being ripped from its moorings by the storm's relentless assault. Without hesitation, he scrambled across the deck, buffeted by wind and rain, his only thought to save his boat, his only tool to provide for his family. He reached the seafarer just as its moorings snapped, the small vessel bucking like a wild horse, threatening to dash itself against the rocks. With a strength born of desperation, he wrestled the seafarer, securing it to a more robust mooring, his muscles screaming in protest, his hands raw and bleeding. He knew the storm wouldn't relent, that his efforts were merely buying time, but he couldn't give up. The seafarer wasn't just a boat, it was their future. Back on the Blue Heron, the family watched Daniel struggle with bated breath. They understood the silent conversation between their father and the sea, the desperate bargain he was striking. Their father, their rock, was risking his life for their livelihood. As Daniel finally scrambled back to the relative safety of the Blue Heron, his face etched with exhaustion and worry, a new wave crashed over the bow, sending a torrent of water through the broken window. The Blue Heron, their sanctuary, was sinking. As dawn pierced the storm's darkness, it revealed the devastation on the Blue Heron. The houseboat was a sinking wreck. The Morgan family huddled on the roof, exhausted and scared. A boat engine's drone cut through the storm. A fishing boat approached, lights cutting through the dawn. It was Old Man Finnegan, a grizzled fisherman. "You folks all right?" he boomed. He maneuvered his boat alongside their sinking home. Relief washed over the Morgan family. Help had arrived. Other boats appeared, risking their safety to help. The rescue was swift and efficient. The Morgan family was helped aboard Finnegan's boat. They watched their Blue Heron disappear beneath the waves. Amidst the grief, there was gratitude for human kindness. The days following the storm were a blur of activity and emotion. The harbor community rallied around the Morgan family, offering shelter, clothing, and support. The Morgans were humbled by their neighbors' generosity. Offers of temporary housing poured in. The Johnson family insisted Sarah and Ethan stay with them. The twins found a temporary home with the Larsons. Daniel threw himself into salvaging the seafarer. Their livelihood remained afloat. He worked tirelessly, his hands calloused but steady. Mary navigated their displacement with grace and gratitude. She comforted her children, reminding them that home is defined by love. As the sun set, the Morgan family gathered on the docks. They watched the boats bobbing gently in the now calm water. The storm revealed their strength and the support of their community. They had lost their home but found their anchors in love.
The schoolyard, usually a cacophony of laughter and shouts, seemed eerily quiet as Sarah walked across the asphalt. She could feel eyes on her, whispers following her like shadows. The storm, which had tested her family's resilience, had also unleashed a different kind of tempest, a whirlwind of rumors and judgments. She caught snippets of conversations, words like homeless and charity case reaching her ears, each syllable a sharp jab to her already fragile sense of belonging. Some classmates, their faces etched with a mix of curiosity and pity, approached her with well-meaning but clumsy questions, their inquiries only amplifying her sense of otherness. "Is it true that your house sank?" one girl asked, her eyes wide with a mixture of fascination and horror. "Where are you living now? Do you have enough clothes?" Sarah, her cheeks burning with shame, mumbled a response, her gaze fixed on the ground, wishing she could disappear into the cracks in the pavement. She longed to explain, to set the record straight, but the words caught in her throat, choked by a wave of humiliation and anger. The storm had stripped away their home, their possessions, but it had also exposed a different kind of vulnerability, the fragility of their social standing, the precariousness of their place within the community. Sarah, accustomed to the whispers and stares that often followed her family's unconventional lifestyle, now faced a new level of scrutiny, a judgment that cut deeper than ever before. The walls of the temporary classroom hastily erected in the school gymnasium seemed to close in on Sarah. She sat at her desk, her textbooks open before her, but the words blurred together, meaningless symbols on a page. Her mind raced, replaying the whispers, the stares, the well-intentioned but hurtful inquiries. She longed to confide in someone, to share the burden of her family's displacement, but a wall of silence had grown between her and her classmates. The easy camaraderie she had once shared with Emily Johnson now felt strained, their conversations punctuated by awkward silences and forced smiles. Sarah knew her classmates didn't intend to be cruel, that their questions stemmed from a lack of understanding rather than malice. But their words, however well-intentioned, only served to highlight the chasm that had opened up between their experiences. They couldn't comprehend the precariousness of life on the water, the constant awareness of the elements, the delicate balance between self-reliance and the need for community support. The storm had not only displaced the Morgan family physically, but had also shaken the foundations of their social world. Sarah, once comfortable navigating the curious gazes and whispered judgments, now felt adrift in a sea of uncertainty, her usual resilience tested by the invisible currents of social dynamics.
Hey, want to see something cool?
While Sarah retreated inward, struggling to navigate the social complexities of their situation, Ethan found an unexpected outlet for his own anxieties, his passion for invention. He had always been a quiet observer, more comfortable tinkering with gears and wires than navigating the choppy waters of social interaction. But the storm, which had threatened to wash away their world, had also unearthed a new kind of courage within him. During recess one afternoon, as a group of classmates huddled together, their conversation hushed and their glances darting towards Sarah with a mix of curiosity and apprehension, Ethan approached them, his toolbox in hand. He had been working on a new invention, a miniature wind turbine designed to power a small LED light, and he felt a sudden urge to share his creation.
Hey, want to see something cool?
To his surprise, the group's initial hesitation gave way to curiosity. They gathered around him, their earlier whispers replaced by gasps of wonder as he demonstrated his invention. He explained the mechanics with a quiet confidence, his passion for his craft shining through, his words bridging the gap between their two worlds. As Ethan shared his knowledge, his creation a tangible symbol of his ingenuity, a shift occurred in the dynamics of the playground. The whispers ceased, the stares softened, replaced by a shared sense of wonder, and a newfound respect for the quiet boy who had dared to reveal his passion.
Come on, let's play Storm Surge!
While their older siblings grappled with the complexities of social dynamics, Emily and Michael, oblivious to the whispers and judgments, continued to navigate their world with an unfettered joy that proved to be a unifying force. The playground, their haven from the uncertainties of displacement, became a melting pot of experiences as they introduced their classmates to the games they had invented during their years on the Blue Heron. They taught them how to tie nautical knots, how to identify different types of seashells, and how to play Storm Surge, a game that involved dodging imaginary waves and rescuing stranded stuffed animals.
Come on, let's play Storm Surge!
Emily, with her infectious laugh and boundless energy, became the ringleader, her enthusiasm contagious. Michael, usually quieter and more observant, surprised everyone with his quick wit and his knack for mimicking the sounds of seagulls and the creaking of boat hulls, his imitations adding a touch of whimsy to their games. The language of play, universal and uninhibited, transcended the barriers of social status and material possessions. As the children ran and laughed together, their differences faded into the background, replaced by the simple joy of shared experience, the unspoken understanding that comes from inhabiting a world where imagination reigns supreme. Word of the Morgan family's plight spread beyond the schoolyard, reaching the hearts of the wider community. The harbor town, a tapestry woven from generations of fishermen, shopkeepers, and families who had weathered countless storms together, rallied around them, demonstrating the true meaning of community. A benefit concert was organized, the docks transformed into a makeshift stage. Local musicians, their voices carrying across the water, filled the air with a blend of folk tunes, sea shanties and heartfelt ballads, their music a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The aroma of freshly baked goods wafted through the air, mingling with the salty tang of the sea. Children, their laughter echoing across the water, chased each other through the crowd, their faces painted with the colors of the setting sun. Families gathered, sharing stories, offering words of comfort, their presence a tangible reminder that the Morgans were not alone. The benefit concert, a testament to the community's generosity, raised more than just funds to help the Morgan family rebuild their lives. It fostered a sense of unity, a shared understanding that transcended the boundaries of social status and material possessions. It reminded everyone present that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit, buoyed by compassion and kindness, had the power to weather any storm. Life ashore. It was all the Morgan children had talked about in the weeks following the storm. Sarah yearned for the stability of solid ground. Ethan dreamed of a spacious workshop filled with natural light and the hum of creativity. Even the twins, Emily and Michael, missed the freedom of the open harbor, the endless possibilities for adventure that their floating home had provided. Now, here they were, living in a real house, surrounded by four walls and a roof that didn't sway with the tide. The Johnson family, their generosity as boundless as the sea itself, had welcomed Sarah, Ethan and Mary into their home, offering them warmth, kindness and a temporary respite from the uncertainties of displacement. Yet the transition was not without its challenges. The house, though cozy and welcoming, felt strangely confining after the open space of the Blue Heron. Sarah found herself bumping into furniture, her senses overwhelmed by the unfamiliar smells and sounds of life ashore. Ethan, accustomed to the gentle rocking of the boat, felt strangely off-kilter, his equilibrium disrupted by the stillness of the ground beneath his feet. Even the twins, usually adaptable and full of boundless energy, seemed subdued, their usual boisterous laughter replaced by whispers as they tiptoed around their temporary home, careful not to disturb the Johnson family's routines. The storm, which had tested their resilience, had also cast them ashore, like driftwood deposited on an unfamiliar beach, uncertain of their place in this new landscape.
For Sarah, the most unexpected gift of their displacement was a room of her own. The Johnson family offered her a small but bright bedroom, tucked away at the end of the hallway. It wasn't much, just a bed, a desk, and a dresser, but to Sarah, it felt like a sanctuary. She spent hours writing in her notebook, her thoughts flowing freely. She wrote about the storm, the terror, and the kindness of strangers. She wrote about her dreams for the future, now closer and more daunting. For the first time, Sarah imagined a future beyond the Blue Heron. The storm cleared a path, revealing new possibilities, new horizons. Sarah, finding her voice amidst the wreckage, was ready to chart her own course.
Ethan, always a doer rather than a talker, channeled his anxieties into a project that had long been brewing in his imagination, building a proper workshop. The Johnson family, recognizing his need for a creative outlet, offered him the use of their garden shed, a small but sturdy structure that had seen better days. With the help of Mr. Johnson, a man who understood the language of tools and the satisfaction of building something with your own two hands, Ethan transformed the neglected shed into a haven for his inventions. He patched the leaky roof, replaced the broken window panes, and built sturdy workbenches from salvaged lumber. His movements precise, his focus unwavering as he poured his heart and soul into the project. The community, their generosity seemingly boundless, rallied around Ethan, donating tools, materials, and their time to help him realize his dream. The hardware store owner gifted him a set of screwdrivers, their handles worn smooth with use, a silent testament to countless projects undertaken. A retired electrician, his hands calloused but steady, showed Ethan how to wire a light fixture, sharing his knowledge with a twinkle in his eye. As Ethan's workshop took shape, so too did his confidence. He spent hours in his newfound haven, surrounded by the comforting scent of sawdust and the satisfying clang of metal on metal, his imagination running wild as he tinkered with gears, wires, and salvaged electronics. His creations a testament to his ingenuity and the unwavering support of his community.
While Sarah and Ethan adapted to life ashore, Daniel found himself drawn back to the water's edge. The harbor, once his livelihood, now beckoned with a siren's song. Mary, sensing his restlessness, watched with concern. She knew the sea was in his blood, but she worried about the toll it took on him. The Morgan family faced new challenges and triumphs, finding strength in their unity. Sarah embraced new opportunities, excelling in her studies and volunteering at the aquarium. Ethan found purpose in his workshop, connecting with others through his inventions. The twins thrived, their laughter a constant reminder of childhood's simple pleasures. Daniel found solace in his family's support, realizing his true identity was defined by love. They learned that home is a feeling of belonging and connection. One evening, they gathered by a beach bonfire, sharing stories and laughter. The tide would always return, just like their hearts together. The embers of the bonfire glowed on the beach, mirroring the warmth that spread through the Morgan family as they sat together. They had faced a tempest that could have shattered their world, their beloved blue heron swallowed by the unforgiving sea. Yet they emerged stronger, their bonds tempered by the shared experience, their love the anchor that held them fast. The storm had tested their individual strengths, pushing each of them to confront their fears and insecurities. Sarah, her teenage heart yearning for acceptance, discovered the power of her own voice, the strength that came from embracing her family's unique story. Ethan, a quiet soul, found his voice through his creations, his ingenuity forging connections that transcended words. And Emily and Michael, the ever-optimistic twins, reminded everyone that joy could be found even amidst the wreckage, their laughter a beacon of hope. Daniel, the stoic patriarch, learned that true strength lay not in weathering the storms alone, but in accepting the love and support of his family. He came to understand that his role as provider extended beyond the catch he brought home, encompassing the emotional sustenance, the unwavering love that nourished their souls. Mary, the ever-patient heart of the family, found her own strength reaffirmed in witnessing her family's resilience. They had faced the storm as a unit, their individual strengths woven together, creating a tapestry of resilience that defied the odds. The loss of their floating home, their refuge from the world, had brought them face to face with the essential truth. Home wasn't a place, but the unwavering embrace of family. Life ashore, once a distant dream, had become their reality. The transition, while challenging, had opened their hearts to new experiences, new possibilities. The rigid lines that had once defined their world, the separation between life on the water and life on land, had blurred, revealing the fluidity of existence, the ebb and flow of change. Sarah, surrounded by the comforting predictability of life with the Johnson family, discovered a different kind of freedom. The stability of solid ground, the comforting routines allowed her spirit to soar. She delved into her studies, her mind eager to explore new horizons, her heart no longer tethered to the confines of their former life. Ethan, his workshop a testament to the community's generosity, blossomed in the fertile ground of shared knowledge. He thrived on the exchange of ideas, the camaraderie of fellow tinkerers, his creativity fueled by the realization that his passion resonated beyond the confines of his imagination. The twins, their laughter echoing through the streets of the harbor town, embraced their new playground with characteristic zeal. They adapted to life ashore with an ease that belied their young age, their boundless energy finding countless outlets, their playful spirits reminding everyone that joy could be found in the simplest of things. The storm which had threatened to upend their lives had also set them adrift on new currents, leading them to unexpected discoveries, unforeseen connections. The Morgan family, adaptable and resilient, learned to navigate these new waters, embracing the ebb and flow of change, their hearts open to the possibilities that lay ahead. The harbor, once a symbol of loss, now shimmered with promise. The sun painted the water in hues of orange and purple. They had weathered the storm, their spirits unbroken. Home was a feeling, a sense of belonging. The future stretched before them, vast and unpredictable. They faced it with newfound confidence. They would face challenges together, drawing strength from love. Sarah envisioned a future filled with knowledge and discovery. Ethan saw a world brimming with possibilities. Emily and Michael approached the future with open hearts. Daniel and Mary looked towards the horizon with contentment. They had weathered life's storms, their family, their compass. The future held the promise of new beginnings.